Last year, they finished 6-10. This year, I have them finishing 3-14. And they made a lot of additions to this team. So it's going to be a very make or break season for Daniel Jones. Kenny Galladay, Kadarius Toney. Obviously, they got John Ross, former first-round pick out of Washington. And Saquon Barkley is coming back to this team. However, I just haven't bought truly into Daniel Jones overall. And certainly his ball security issues, I think, have been a thing that until I see him out on the field actively not fumbling the ball, I think that's always just going to be a thing that holds his career back. And I do find cause for concern. Let's say he does have issues turning the ball over early. I could see the Giants making a quarterback switch. And that's not to say that they have a great backup quarterback behind him. Mike Glennon is their backup quarterback. But I think if you're Joe Judge and you're portraying yourself as this hard-nosed, old-school coach, then a quarterback who can't keep the ball on your side of the field, I think needs to be punished accordingly.
Yeah, and you know what? To be honest, I don't know if even the Giants players themselves and the city of New York has bought into Joe Judge. I mean, he has these guys running laps before practice, like a freaking middle school football team. So, I mean, to each his own. But I mean, that would piss me off if I was an NFL player, like run a lap. I mean, it was just high school, you know? So
I think that's part of the problem of these Belichick disciples. They all want to be Coach Belichick, but they don't have that cachet. They don't have the Super Bowls behind their name. So players look at them and it's like, who are you? What have you done? Why are we running laps for you, Joe Judge, who have done nothing in the NFL?
And as far as Daniel Jones, I'm not a believer in him either. Again, ball security is his big issue. When you can't hold on to the football and you're the quarterback, you got some major problems. Again, I don't see the Giants doing much. I know and then they also picked up, I believe they picked up Kyle Rudolph from the Vikings, if I'm not mistaken also. So they got their own little set of weapons too, but I just think their Achilles heel is quarterback. Maybe they'll bench him if he doesn't show out like you just said. But we'll see what Joe Judge, he definitely has his work cut out for him.
Yeah, speaking of tight ends that they acquired, I do think this is another huge indictment on Joe Judge too. Kelvin Benjamin, how he exited a camp. I don't know if you remember seeing that story come across the feed. You will never win a Super Bowl with this head coach. I guess after he got cut because he failed physical, because he was overweight, because that's just what Kelvin Benjamin does.
Yeah.
It's like Eddie Lacy. Just like they have to put those weight stipulations in your contract.
It was funny when because nobody's ever heard of Joe Judge before he got hired, right? So I saw this great tweet. It was funny. It was a great joke that somebody tweeted, the Giants just called the Patriots facility and hired the first person who answered the phone.
And it wasn't a very desirable coaching job at the time when they brought him in too. I'm trying to think like who were the candidates out there that they were potentially talking to. And I don't think there was a lot of hands that were getting raised to sign up for that job at that time, especially too being tied to Gettleman, being tied to Daniel Jones is a tough thing for a coach to come into because you obviously want to select your guys and know who you're rolling with moving forward. I did like what I saw from the team at points last year. They looked competitive. They looked like that gritty physical team. Some of their draft picks that Gettleman have put out there have produced. They are solid NFL players, but I think the fact that they missed at the quarterback position, and I'm already ready to call it, I think Daniel Jones is a miss at the quarterback position for them, is always just going to hinder them. And I think they're going to be on their next coach next year. I think they're going to be on a new quarterback next year, new GM next year. I think the New York Giants are just going to totally clean house after this season. And like I said, 3-14, I think they're just going to totally bottom out.
And not a knock, but I also feel like their first round pick was a bit of a reach also, because I feel like they panicked after the Cowboys and the Eagles made that trade for the Eagles to get in front of the Giants so they don't get Devontae Smith. So I feel like they I'm not saying he's not going to be a good player, but I just feel like they could have, the guy that they drafted, Tony, right?
Kentavious Toney, yes, I will say that I like Kentavious Toney in terms of skill set and player. I think he's athletic and he can be a high-level NFL wide receiver. Maybe not a number one in offense, but certainly number 2 or 3, which I think is what you're asking for him behind Kenny Galladay when you go out there and spend big bucks on a guy like him. But yes, I can see that, like certainly that panic buy situation in terms of going out a wide receiver. But I think that's also part of, again, just try and put that pressure on Jones that this is your final year to prove yourself. We're just going to load up on as many wide receivers, as many athletic top end weapons. And if you can't produce now, then you will never produce. And I think that this is finite for the Giants this year.